Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the tutorials on Nextflow for bioinformatics. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to index a reference genome. Alright, so what we are going to do is to write a Nextflow script that will index a reference genome for us. If you are going to perform genome mapping or if you are going to do variant calling, one of the things that you will do is to index your reference genome. So I'll show you how to write a Nextflow script to do this. And let me say that the materials for this tutorial, the script, everything is available. So if you want it, you can check the description box. The down link to the files are there. All right. Now for this tutorial, you will need to make sure you have Nextflow installed, and you should also have BWA installed. All right. I have a tutorial that shows how to install these two. So Nextflow, that's what we are going to use to write the scripts. BWA, that's what we are going to use to index. BWA is an aligner, all right? So we will use it to index our reference sequence. So these are the only requirements. So I repeat, instructions for installing these tools can be found in the description box. Now we are going to download an example data that we'll use. That's the FASTA sequence. So let's go to the NCBI page and then download that file. All right, so this is the page, and I'll leave the link to this page in the description box. So we are going to use the FASTA sequence for Mycobacterium mostrans AG199. All right, I'm using this file because it's small, so you can run it on your PC. You can index this on your PC. It's very, very small, a small file size. So again, the link to this page is in the description box. So let's do this. Let's download the sequence, the FASTA sequence. So on this page, come to this side, come to send to, click it, this arrow, and then you see this complete record. Make sure it's checked, and then come to choose destination. And when you are here, click on file. And then when you are here, come to format, select FASTA. Let's use FASTA. And then click on create file. So you can now save the sequence. So I will save mine. I've already created a directory, and then I will save mine in that directory. So I will just give it a name. I will say AGY99.FASTA. This will be the file. All right. Okay, so I have done that. So I will now open the terminal and then proceed with the activity. Okay, so on the terminal, I'll also make sure I cd to the directory which has the file. So I'll say cd Nextflow. All right, so I am currently in the directory which has the file. All right, so I'll do an ls. I'll see it here. So just make sure that you have also cd'd into the directory which has your file, the FASTA file. It's important. We just want to make sure things are streamlined. All right, so just make sure you are in the same directory as where the FASTA file is. I'm making emphasis on this. All right, now let's do this. Let's create another directory and then place the FASTA file in it. So I'll say make the ref, and then I'm going to move the FASTA file into that ref directory. So I'll do an ls. I'll find my ref directory there, and in it I'm going to find my FASTA file, the reference sequence there. All right, so now we have the file ready, so we can start. And I also suppose I have installed Nextflow, so we are now going to write the script. So I'll take you through them step by step, so don't worry, you don't need to have any programming experience, just follow whatever I'm going to give here. All right, so we will start with our first script. So I'll use Nano to open a text file and edit. You can use any other text editor also, that's fine. So I'll say Nano, and I'll say scripts 1.nf because we are going to create other scripts. So I'll just use this one, the name here. You can use any name of your choice, that's also fine. All right, so I'll say Nano script 1.nf. Okay, so I have done that. Now that's what we are going to do. We are going to specify a parameter. All right, so I'll say params.FASTA, or you can also say ref. I think I'll prefer to use ref rather. So I'll say params.ref equals and I'll specify the path to the sequence. All right, I mean the FASTA sequence. Now, if you're not sure, let's just do this. I'm on a Linux system, so I can quickly check the path of the sequence. Let's do this. I can just say rel path ref, and I'll specify the file. This will give me the full path to the file like this. Now, this command may not work if you're using Mac OS, but for Linux systems, it's going to work. Alternatively, you can do a cd into ref and then say pwd. All right, so you get this path, and then you can add /AGY99.FASTA. That also works. All right, so what you need to do is to make sure that you have the full paths to it. All right. Okay, so that is what we are going to specify here, the path to the file, the FASTA file. So I'll paste mine here like this. So this is my parameter, the reference sequence. Now let's proceed. Now we are going to create a process. So process are the tags. Okay, so if you are going to execute a command, you need to put it in a process. So I'll define it. So I'll say process, and I'll say index, and then I'll bring my curly brackets and another curly brackets to end it. Then in between, I'll put my stubs. Now when I come here, all right, I'm going to add something else. I'll say input. I'll bring a comma like this, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the next line, space, and I'll say path. All right, because there's a path to a file, so that's why it's path, and then space, and I'll give it a name. I can say genome. All right, so we have it this way. Now let's scroll down. Let's go to another line. Now when we are here, we will add our script. So I'll say script, comma, not comma, colon. Yeah, colon like this. Let me just do it again. Script, colon, and then the next line, I'll put my command. So the command should be in quotes, 3 quotes, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, and then another one, 1, 2, 3. Then in between, we will put our command or commands. So for BWA, if you are going to index a reference sequence, it's BWA index. All right, so I can say BWA index, and then we need to specify the reference sequence. All right, that is what we have done here. So this genome here is a placeholder for this one here. We are going to do another definition elsewhere, but that's what we are going to do. So this genome here is the placeholder. All right, so I'll show you something very soon, and then we say $genome like this, right? You can also do it. Some people may also do it like this. They can bring some curly brackets also here, but I'll just use the $genome like this. That's fine. So this one should work in principle. All right, but if you have any challenge, you can always reach out to me. All right, so we have that done. Now what do we do again? This is it. Now let's scroll down. Now that we have defined our process, which is here, let's just do it here. There's something else we need to do. Now, if you're going to use a process, and then you're also going to use an input file, then you also need to add channels. Okay, so channels allow us to direct information. So in this case, we are going to use it to direct our inputs file, which is this one here. Of course, we have defined it here, but we need to do a final activity. So that will come here in the workflow. So with Nextflow, the current version I'm using, you're supposed to use the workflow command to run the tasks. Even though we have defined them here, we need to run them. So just like in Python, for example, if you define a function like this, you need to call it. All right, so calling it is where the workflow comes in, right? So workflow, we also bring our curly brackets, and then we bring our curly brackets again, and in it we will define a channel. Okay, so this channel will link the input file, which is this one here, to the process. All right, so here we have defined an input, so that is what we are going to specify here. So I will say ref ch equals channel, and I'll say dot from path. All right, so for the channel, I have a separate tutorial on channels that explains a lot of these things. So if you're interested, you can check the description box for that. All right, so for this tutorial, I'll just keep it brief. So channel.from path, and then I will specify the params.ref. So I'll say params.ref, and then I'll redirect this information to the process here. So I'll call the process. So I'll say index, and then in it I'll say ref ch, like this. All right, so that's it. Okay, so this is the initial scripts we have written. So let's save the changes, okay, and exit. So I'll save the changes now. So now if I do an ls, I'm going to find my script 1. So what I'm going to do next is to execute the script. So to execute the script, I'll say Nextflow, and I'll say run, and I'll say script1.nf. So let's execute this command. So we will see Nextflow in action. All right, so Nextflow has completed its work. Okay, now with BWA, if you are indexing a sequence, that's what happens. Let's just use this other one. I think I opened one somewhere here. Yeah, I think I had something here. Yeah, I'll use this one here. Let me try this. I had a separate file, a separate directory here as well. So for your BWA, if you are using your regular terminal to index, all right, you do this BWA index, and then you say ref /agny99.f ast, that's first A, like this. And then when you execute, you'll find the logs being displayed for you. All right, but this behavior, we don't see it if we are running it on Nextflow. All right, so it's possible to get this log after we have executed BWA. Of course, what we have here, there's no error, but if there was an error, we'll see it. But sometimes you may want to check the logs yourself, so it's possible to do that in Nextflow. So to view, or let's say to capture the BWA output in Nextflow, you can use a certain command. Okay, so now with that command, you need to also specify the name here. Okay, that's the log name. You need to include that. All right, so to get that, we can say Nextflow, and we say log, and you specify the name of the run, which is in this case maniac_shaw. Yours is likely to be different. All right, but put whatever you saw there, and then you say -f, and you can say std by this. When I read on I was informed, or I got to know that the BWA output is sent to std_error, so that's why I'm specifying it here. All right, so if you do it like this and you execute, let's see what comes up. You are going to get that log coming up here. All right, so when you get that log, you can still save it to an output file or whatever. That one is up to you, but this is how you get the log after you have executed the Nextflow script. So I thought I'll bring this to your attention because sometimes you may want to see what is happening. So that's it. Now let's proceed. Now we have performed our indexing. Let's do an ls. All right. So with BWA, let me just open this one here. If you perform your indexing, the files are saved in the same directory as your reference sequence. All right. Now with Nextflow, this is what happens. Let's ls into our ref. We may not see the output files, the index files in the reference sequence. I mean the directory, the ref directory. All right. We may not see the files in the ref directory. So there's a behavior in Nextflow, but you will see it in the work directory. Which one? This one here. It has been created automatically. So let's ls into it. We are going to see a subdirectory, so we have to ls into it. You may see another subdirectory, and you may have to ls into it to see your files. All right. But this behavior, we can change it because sometimes you have all these parts which are long. So we can specify a directory, and then Nextflow will save the outputs to that directory. So that's what we are going to do next. All right. So let's do this. Let's clear the screen. Let's do an ls, and then let's make a copy of the scripts. Okay. So just do a cp script 1 and say scripts 2.nf. We are going to modify this one here. We don't want to touch the original script here. So we are going to edit. So I'll say nano scripts 2.nf. and then I'll open it. So I'll add something else here. So because we are going to specify a directory where the output file should be, I will define that also here. So I'll say params.index dar. And I'll say equals. And then I'll specify a directory. So I'll still put it where I am. So I'll say /home/ /nextflow. This is my working directory, and I'll say /index_dar, all in quotes. That is the first step. And then when you come into your process, you define something else again. You say, let me just put it here, you say publish dar, and then you bring your parentheses, you bring your quotes, and you say $, and then you bring your curly brackets, and you can say params.index_dar. You bring your curly brackets again, you bring your quotes, and you close it. Then you bring your comma, and then you bring your mode. So mode here, we will say copy. All right. Now, for the modes, there are different modes. There is one for moving, there is one for copy. There are a lot of stuffs, but the copying means that the original work directory, the default directory where Nextflow saves its output files, we will maintain it, we will keep the file, but we will make a copy of those files into this directory, the directory of interest. All right, so that's where the copy comes from. But if you use move, that means the files will be moved, but it's normally recommended to use a copy so that any other process using those files can have access to them. So we will use copy for the meantime, but later on you can experiment with the other modes as well. That's fine. That's up to you. But for now, let's stick to copy. So now let's end it. Let's close the parentheses. So that's it. Now there's another thing we have to do. Because we have now specified the directory, we also need to specify an output. So after input, when you come down here, we will say output. We bring our colon, and then next line, we say path. And then we bring double quotes like this, and we say star. And another double quotes again. So that means that the outputs, we want to have access to all the outputs, all the files that we generated. That's where the star comes from. So that's the path, because those are all path. All right. So once we have these two settings made, then we can have the index files are being stored or saved in our directory of interest. So the directory here, if it does not exist, it will be created. At the moment, we have not created it, so Nextflow will create that directory for us. All right, so no need to create that directory. So now we are done. So we can go back and then execute our scripts. For these ones, we will maintain them as they are. It's fine. So let's exit and save changes. I'll type Y. I'll save the change. So now let's run Nextflow on the script 2. So I'll say Nextflow run scripts2.nf. All right, Nextflow has completed its work. So let's do an ls. We are going to find a directory called index.dar. So this has the index file. So let's ls into it. We are going to find them there. All right, so we have it there. But this directory here does not have the original FASTA file, which is here in the ref directory. All right, but ideally we should have both the FASTA and then the index files all in the same directory. So there are a number of approaches you can use. You can change the params.index.dar to the ref directory so that the index files are generated in the same directory. So we can do this. Let's edit it. Let's edit the script 2 again. And then let's change this to ref. All right, so let's save the changes and then let's rerun Nextflow again. So I'll say Nextflow, and then I am going to run scripts2.nf again. All right, that has been done. So let's clear the screen and continue. Let's do an ls first, and then let's ls into the ref directory. We are going to find the index files there in addition to the original FASTA file. All right, so this is how we do it. All right, so now we have been able to streamline the thing. So we have everything in one single directory, in one directory. So that makes things okay. In some cases too, you may want to see the output files on the screen. All right, it's also possible to do that in Nextflow. Now let's do this. Let's just copy the script again. This time I'll just say cp scripts2.nf. I'll say scripts3.nf. I want us to do something here. This is just a demonstration. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the index directory again. I'll remove it. I'll use that one again. I'll say rm-fr index_dar. You should be careful with the rm command because it's a point of no return. All right. So I'm going to edit the script 3. And this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to redirect the index files to the index directory again. And then I'll also display the outputs. So I'll say nano scripts3.nf, and then when I come back here, I'll do this. I'll just redirect them. Okay, just here, index there. But you can still leave it with the ref. That will also work. You can leave it with this one here. That also works fine. But I will just do this so that we see the difference. All right, just that if you use this, that means you will still have to copy the FASTA file to this one so that you can have the complete files. But for this one, which is for demonstration purposes, I'll just use this one and then we'll proceed. So I'll just do it like this, and then when I come down here to the workflow here, this side here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say index.out.view. All right, so this will display the output files. We have already declared the output files here, and so what we are doing is to just display them on the screen. So that's where the index.out.view comes in. So let's edit and save changes. So I'll run Nextflow again. So I'll say Nextflow, and I'll say run script3.nf, and I'll execute the command. All right, so now we can see the files here. They have been displayed for us here. So we see all of them here. So I think there are 5 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have all of them displayed for us. It's also possible to display just a single file. All right. So let's just say, for example, we want to display just this one here, the BWT here, this one here. It's possible to do that. So I can do this. I'll just do it like this. Yeah, before I even talk about that, so notice that when the files were displayed, it displayed from the work directory, the default directory where Nextflow generates files. So this is the behavior. All right, so it shows you the output. So here, if you use the mode, that's when you are specifying the part, the publish dar. If you use the mode move, then after moving, you will no longer get access to this files here again. They will be in the index there, but we are using copy, so we still have access to them here. So these are the files. Now let's do this. Let's just try this. Let's rerun the script. We'll modify it again, and this time we are going to just display one of the files. It's possible to do, instead of displaying everything, you can display a selected file of your choice. So we are going to look at how to display just this one here, the one with the .bwt. All right, so let's remove the index dar again. And then let's clear the screen, and then let's copy scripts 3, and let's say scripts 4.nf, and then let's edit it like this. Okay, so we are going to edit it here. All right, so let's do this. So let's come to this side and do that. So what we are going to do is to use another mode called emit. All right, so when you come here, what we are going to do is to clear this one, bring our double quotes, dollar curly brackets, and say genome. All right, and then say .bwt. So we want that the file with the extension .bwt like this. And then when you come here, you say comma and you say emit. We bring a colon and we say ref genome. And so what will happen is that this variable name will be assigned to this file here, the file that will be generated, this file here, and then this file is going to be saved in our publish dar, because this is the file of interest. All right, so that one will be copied to our index dar. Anyway, let's just execute this command and see. So after doing this like this, what we have to do is to scroll down, and then when you scroll down, when you come here, all right, instead of now using index.out.view, we will clear the index.out.view. We will say index.out.ref genome.view like this. All right, so these are the 2 changes that we have made. All right, so let's save changes and exit. All right, let's do this. Now let's do an ls. Let's make sure that we don't have the index there, because that's what we are going to use. So I'll run Nextflow again. I'll say Nextflow, and I'll say run script 4.nf. All right, so we have executed it. So you will see this here. All right, this one is in the default directory, the default directory called work. But then a copy has been made. Let's ls. You will find our index there. So if you do an ls index there, you'll find that file also here. Okay, because that is what we specified, that is what we emitted. All right, so you can also use this approach if you are interested in a particular output file. Let's say we have several files being generated, like in our case, and you only want a particular file to be stored in a separate directory, then you can use the emit mode or the emit function to put that particular file in a separate directory, like what we did here. But because this one we are indexing, you will still need access to all the files. All right, so you can use your script 3 rather to get everything, like what we did here, to get all the files into one directory for us. Okay, script 3, I think it's script 3 or script 2. Let's just check. Yeah, I think we modified a couple of them, so you can just use the script 3 or any of them, and then just make sure to modify and then put your original rep directory there. All right, that works. We also did that in scripts 2. Let's see, that one had this one. Yeah, so this one here. So if you want all the files, then you can just use the approach in scripts 2. Then that also works fine for you. Okay, so this is how we index a reference genome in a Nextflow script. So if you're interested to learn how to write a Nextflow script to perform mapping, then you can check the video in the description box. So you can also use this video that has been shown right now.